Hold on.
Perfect timing.
Yeah, the Amazon person came to deliver a package as soon as you said that. And he's like, computer.
He had to join our show.
No, he doesn't like to be ignored.
Hello to all of our amazing legit KidLit viewers. I'm Tiffany.
And I'm Alexis. We've been giving a lot of love to novels in verse lately because, well, we love them. So get ready for another episode featuring more novel and verse authors. Give it up for Meg Eden Kuyatt and Aimee Lucido.
Hello.
Hi. So before we begin, we would love for each of you to introduce yourself by sharing a short acrostic poem using your name. And then viewers, if you want to pause the video or the episode right now and write an acrostic poem using your name, you can do that as well. Leave it in the comments if you'd like. Okay.
All right, so we'll start with Aimee. Why don't you read your acrostic poem and tell us about yourself and your books?
All right. Well, my name is Aimee. That's Aimee. And so the acrostic is I am the author of amazing, astounding, astonishing, interesting, intriguing, incredible, mesmerizing, merry, and marvelous, exciting, entertaining, and excellent books. So I've been writing for, gosh, it feels like forever at this point, like probably 12, 13 years or so, seriously. I've had 2 books published. One is a full novel in verse, Emmy and the Key of Code. And one is a hybrid it's prose and also some poetry, and it's called Recipe for Disaster. I live in Berkeley, California. I have many more books, both versy and not versy, coming. So it's about 2024 is when my 3rd novel comes out, as well as my first picture book, which is also kind of poetic. So yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. And Meg.
Oh my gosh. Hi, I'm Meg. I feel silly because I'm intimidated by acrostics and I just kind of like went for it. And now I'm seeing like tiny font. So apologize for me just kind of like going wherever the heck I wanted to with this.
No, I loved it.
Oh, thank you. Okay, so I used my last name, and actually now I just realized I think I missed a letter, so I misspelled my name like everyone in the world does. I even got my passport, and they spelled it wrong on my passport. So like this is a common thing. So anyway, I misspelled my own name and my acrostic, but I started with my last name, and then with my first name. This was inspired because I just came back from the PT, so this was obviously where my brain was. Knee pain gone today. Replaced with tight shins, thighs, everything. Under the aches is the labor in my sitting, the writing. Yesterday, when I asked my PT if I should walk heel first, like most people, like neurotypicals, his answer wasn't really an answer, saying that sometimes we see something as normal because of frequency more than function. Thinking, I'm sure, about me disclosing my autism, the source of my bad toe walking habits. Elegant, my mother said, like a ballerina from birth. How could she know what was really going on, that I was more than just a quirky kid? Oh, thank you. Yeah, so
That was beautiful. And I like that we have 2 very different styles of acrostics here. Like, that was really wonderful. So
that's the fun with prompts. You can kind of just go where you want to go.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just realized I didn't introduce my book. I'm Meg Eden Kuyatt. I write KidLit. I'm starting the road into middle grade, and my debut novel in verse about an autistic girl that learns to advocate for herself through poetry is coming out with Scholastic in March.
Love it. I need that.
I know. I love the cover. That's gorgeous.
Oh, thank you.
And Aimee, I love Emmy.
I know.
Book.
Yeah, Emmy was my first ever novel in verse.
That's incredible.
You did great. I feel like the first time I read it, just because it was more STEM related, it was really, really cool. Like, it just sets it apart, and it's so different and so needed.
Thank you so much. Yeah, when I had the idea, I had never written a novel in verse before, but I had the idea, and I was like, "Oh, this book has to be a verse novel. I have to learn to write in verse to write this book." And so I did.
Yeah, it worked. It did.
So we would love to get to know the characters in your books. Describe one of your characters in 5 words or less. And whoever wants to go first is fine.
I can go first. So for Sayla, the protagonist, I chose empathetic, autistic, strong, poetic, and dragon lover.
Yeah.
I saw you pop in the last word. Yeah.
Yes. Love it. All right, Aimee.
So I did Emmy, who's my protagonist in Emmy and the Key of Code. She is shy. She is smart. She is musical. She is scientific. And she is nice.
That's great.
That's a good one. So let's play a writing would you rather. So would you rather write free verse or strict rhyme?
I like when I'm writing in like a book form, I tend to gravitate towards free verse, but I also really like a very constrained rhyme, just kind of as a fun exercise. One of my favorites is something called a double dactyl, which I feel like is similar in sort of spirit to a limerick kind of. And so a dactyl is like da 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 da, or just one of those is a dactyl, which is a rhythmic foot or a metric. What is it? Metric foot? Poetic foot.
Yeah, I guess it is technically. I love that you are mentioning dactyls because my MFA poetry professor did not believe in the existence of dactyls. He was like, "Oh, it's like a trochee with an extra." I don't know, but yeah, it's all 3. It counts as 1 foot.
Okay, gotcha. So a double dactyl. It's like this very. It's kind of fun to Google just to see how like rigid it is because it's like 2 stanzas and the first one always starts higgledy-piggledy to like establish the rhythm or something that's kind of in the same sort of silly voice. And then you have to, one of the words has to be a 6-syllable double dactyl, like centenarian or something like that. It's really fun and it's really hard to do. And I just I went through a phase where I just wrote like dozens of them. So I do really enjoy strict verse at some point, but free verse tends to be where I gravitate towards when I'm writing books.
Interesting. Big word.
What about you?
Yeah, I like free verse. Well, I like different forms of poetry, but I'm like not into rhyme. Though I will agree with Aimee. I love dactyls.
And I have to say, Meg, the way that you read your acrostic, it was like so calming and like I feel like I could just listen to you read forever. So
thank you.
All right. Haiku or acrostic? I think I know what Meg's gonna pick.
I like haiku.
Yeah, I think I would also go with haiku. Actually, I also find acrostics a little intimidating because I don't know. I don't think about the first letter that often, and so when I wrote mine, I was like, I'm just gonna do like I'm very all or nothing. So it's like if I'm gonna do the first letter, the whole line is gonna be that same letter. Lots of alliteration.
It works nicely.
Yeah, thank you.
So I'm pretty sure that Alexis makes me say this every time because she knows that I hate saying this. But plotting or pantsing, I hate the phrase. But what would you rather do?
Can we be plantsers here?
Yeah.
The Switzerland of
Meet in the middle.
writing planning.
You can be a plantser, sure.
I definitely have become more plantsy in my, elderly writing age, 31 or however old I am. I started off very pantsy. Like I never had any idea of like what I was writing towards. And I would just sort of, write hundreds of thousands of words that were not going anywhere. And then I guess I started studying story and like the anatomy of story. And then the sort of plot beats became much more innate. And so even if I'm not physically going in and like writing a synopsis, I'm still, I still know where the beats are going to be. So I feel like I'm plotting a bit more, but I definitely, my third book, the one that comes out in 2024, I had no idea what was going to happen in that book. And so I had to plot it. Like I had to write a full synopsis of it. And then every day in order to know what to write, I've never had a harder time writing a book than I did for my third book.
Wow.
I tend to draft very fast. This took me a year and a half to draft. I put, and it's a short book. It's a verse novel. It's short. So I had to put my synopsis up next to my screen every day. And then I would just literally write the next sentence of my synopsis. That's all I could do. So even though I tend to be a little bit more on the pantsy side of things, I have definitely lately found the beauty in a plot.
I feel that.
A very long answer to that question.
No, I love it.
It makes sense. And I think it's good too for anyone, any writers, to see that, like, you kind of think, oh, I have done one book already. It's just easy from here. It's every book is its own thing. So, not that we want to be intimidating, but like everything's going to take, extra work, and you never know how much is going to take more. Anyway, coffee or tea?
Tea.
Yeah, I'm also tea. I hate coffee. Yeah. I like tea though.
Tiffany and I are hardcore coffee people.
My husband is as well. He's a big coffee fan. Yeah. But I don't even like coffee ice cream. Like I don't like it. Which I guess
What's your favorite tea right now? Any good flavors?
I don't even drink that much tea, if I'm being honest.
Or just black, like just straight up tea, or hot or cold?
Caffeine. So I like herbal teas. If every so often, like you'll go to a restaurant where they like have like fancy tea and they'll like steep it for you and they'll like bring it. I'm always like, oh my gosh, this is so good. Like, why does my tea never taste like this? I'd probably drink more of it if I tasted like that.
Yeah,
that's so true.
We're on a green tea kick at our house right now. So we've got all kinds of different green teas. My husband just got all this matcha stuff to do it. Like,
oh, cool.
Because apparently, with the whisk, because apparently matcha has a strong concentration of, I can't remember the exact chemical, but it's a relaxant. It helps with anxiety and stuff. So even though it's got caffeine, if you have it in that high concentrate, it has this counterbalancing effect. Because if I drink too much black tea, I'll get short circuited or something. So we're like, oh, green tea, it can do both. This is great. Let's do that. So
I think I remember reading that, and I got some matcha green tea. That was pretty good.
I like matcha. I do like matcha.
Yeah. Right outside or inside?
I move around 6 times a day. We moved during the pandemic, and we bought a house, and one of the things was I need a heavy yard, and I had bought this hammock off of a Shark Tank ad, but because it was a Shark Tank product, it took over a year to arrive, and so it arrived after we moved, and so it finally arrived, and I put it in my new yard, and it's my favorite thing ever. It was not I never would have bought it if I had known that we'd be in this house, but now that we have it, it's amazing. So I will sit in the hammock and I'll write in the morning before it gets too hot, and then I'll come inside, and then I'll go back outside at night when it starts to cool off a little bit more.
Oh, cool.
I also move around, and I also do both, and it depends on the project and my mood. I found there are some projects where it's I gotta be outside and I'm energized, and there's other times where it feels daunting or intimidating for some reasons, that I'm taking myself seriously or something. So I have to do weird things to not psych myself out. Sometimes just sitting in the recliner makes me feel like this is low stakes. We're just hanging out with the characters and seeing what happens. And especially right now I'm in the phase of a project of kind of discovery drafting, and I've gotten just past the part of the first draft that I hate, where I don't know anything, and now I feel like I have some of my bearings, but I'm still easily spooked. So it's mostly been recliner chair writing right now.
You gotta trick yourself into writing.
Yes, it's really weird, and I love the points.
It's very normal.
Yeah,
that's how I write.
Yeah, and writing, like you said, you've been writing for so long, and I've been writing a similar amount of time, and it's you think it would get easier, but it's you still have to trick yourself. It's so weird.
Every book really feels like you're learning to write again, and obviously you're getting better, and you're making different mistakes. It's not even the right word, but it really, every book demands a different part of you, I feel like.
Absolutely.
That's really cool. Along with that, do you go out to write in a coffee shop, or stay at home?
I can't have noise.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like it. There's a couple places near me that I've written outside, but the past year or so, I've rather writing at home. So depends.
I read aloud to myself when I write also,
Mhm.
like I'll like when I'm just drafting, like if I'm just sort of getting to the end of a chapter, I don't read aloud. But then as I'm going back and I'm like refining the words, especially in a verse novel, I will read the same paragraph aloud to myself over and over again. And I don't even like doing that when my husband's in the house. Like I don't like my dog's okay. My husband's not.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I got lost for a second. Did we already answer the last question?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so.
It's on your turn.
Okay, sorry. Technology is not my friend today. Background noise or silence?
I always have a playlist for each project, so not quite silence. I usually need some kind of music, but I can get really distracted by other kinds of noise.
Mm-hmm.
I need silence, with the exception of my dog barking, because he does that a lot. A lot. He's like, I'm ready to start doing it now, but he actually looks like he might be okay.
He's like, "What? Did you say my name? I'm gonna."
I know.
Okay, writing or typing?
Typing. Very
Yeah,
typing.
I get worked up. I get really into my handwriting when I handwrite, and then I just get sad that I don't have better handwriting. So I type, and I'm a fast typer too, so I can get a lot of words out really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I like being able to move things. I love Scrivener. Just drag things around, and especially for verse novels.
I was gonna say the same thing. I bought Scrivener when I decided to write a verse novel because I knew that I needed to write things out of order and then move them.
Absolutely.
Interesting. What advice do you have for our viewers who are scared of reading or writing poetry?
I think to just try it and give it a chance, because I think we are often schooled wrong about poetry in our classrooms. We're told this thing is poetry, and there's an answer to understanding what poetry is. And if you don't have that right interpretation, you're stupid. Like my students tend to be intimidated going into writing poetry and stuff. So I think just like giving it a shot, trying to read different kinds of poetry, contemporary poetry, slam poetry, like things that maybe you weren't exposed to in school, going, oh, that's poetry? That can be poetry? Hey, that's not that bad. Because usually my students at the end of my first semester of Intro to Creative Writing, when they've done the poetry unit, when I have them reflect, like 90% of them say like, oh, I came in thinking I wouldn't like poetry, but actually I liked the poetry unit more. And now I actually like poetry. And that's the happiest thing I could hear as an instructor, because I want people to feel like poetry is accessible. Poetry is for you. If you want it to be for you, it can be fun. It doesn't have to be Shakespeare. It doesn't have to be whatever your English teacher in middle school, high school told you it should be.
Yeah.
If you listen to music with lyrics, then you're listening to poetry. So if you want some like really unintimidating poetry, pick up your favorite song and just like read the lyrics through as a poem. Also, if you're intimidated by books and poetry, they're really short. There's a lot of white space in them. They're actually easier to read sometimes because of how fast they go. Like you could read a poetry book, a novel, a verse in like 2 hours, 3 hours.
Yep.
So
And they're thick, like so it looks like to other people.
Yeah.
Maybe if they don't know what you're reading, it like looks like this huge book that you could finish in an hour or two. Like that's what I kind of liked about it. I'm like, look at this. And
Sometimes I'll have a book in my bookshelf and I won't realize it's a verse novel, and I'll be gearing myself up to read like a 400
Yes.
page book. I can do it. And then I open it, it's like, oh my God, it's in verse. Yes.
Bingo.
My stack's gonna get so much shorter.
Exactly.
Yeah, that was like
go ahead.
Oh, that was like all my attention span could handle in the worst of the pandemic. Was like, I was like, okay, I think I can handle middle grade verse novels. But that was great because it helped me to be able to keep reading.
Yes, those and comic books are what can get you through a reading slump. It really can. You can't focus and things. Plus, I love that novels and verse get so emotional. Like you really feel a lot. More deeply, I think, than other novels. So, because you don't have all the other things happening in a story, it's very straight and to the point. Yeah. So we love recommendations. Tell us a recent favorite novel and verse that you'd like to recommend.
I have a big pile. I've been really struggling to read. Just I have been extremely busy with a lot of things. So I have like a giant stack that I'm like looking forward to reading. Like I'm sitting on Kip Wilson's second book, Most Dazzling Girl in Berlin, for like 3 months, and I just it's like it's literally the top of my stack, and I just have not had any, but I want to like savor it too. So I want to sit and like enjoy it. So I just have not had a minute. But that's like my next one. I think the last one I read that I really loved was Alone, but that was like probably like 6 months ago at this point. Like in a real, just I have not had a minute to sit and read, but I really did love Alone. And it was so different than a lot of verse novels I feel like I've read before, and I really liked that. And I feel like like sometimes I feel like with verse novels it's hard for the verse to feel like it frees the story as opposed to like containing the story. And I really felt like this freed the story, and I really loved that.
I love Alone.
Yeah.
What about you, Meg?
Lawless Spaces by Kuyatt and Aimee. It's a YA. I'm obsessed with like anything Kuyatt and Aimee does. But this is just like
This is a verse novel?
Yeah, this is a verse novel. It came out January of this year or last year. I'm trying to.
Is this her first verse novel? I don't feel like I've ever. Oh my gosh, I've only read her prose before. Oh, I can't. I'm gonna have to get that one.
Yeah, no, it's incredible, and it's like one of those books where I'm so jealous and I hate her because like I wish I'd written it. Like those are the best books where it's like, dang it, like why is this so good? So I'm studying that one constantly. Like, how did she do?
Yes. Same, I am too. It's so good. And it has multi, generations in it, which is really cool. I love stories like that.
And she does it effectively. That would be it's so hard to do, especially with verse, because I was actually working on a project where I was considering a similar idea, and just making the voices distinct in verse in the same book is like so hard, yet she does it so well. Just like I can't speak highly enough of that book. Like, go get it.
It is so great. It is young adult, but it's really good. Really good.
And now all of our TBR piles just got bigger.
Yay. Yes, they did. But they're novels and verse.
It's always a good thing. And so how can educators and librarians reach out to you to book an author visit?
I have a website, which is just aimeelucido.com. I have a form there. I think it's a form, or it might even just be my email. But I'm very accessible. Email, Twitter, Instagram. I get a lot of requests via DMs, which is really cool. You can also email me. It's first name, Aimee, middle initial L, last name, Lucido @gmail.com. So 2 L's in the middle. Yeah, I should have a contact. I have a whole menu up there of talks that I've given.
Oh, these are awesome.
I really love school visits. I think they are just some of probably the most fun part of being an author, if I'm being honest, because you get to because being an author can be very lonely. You're just kind of in your house writing every day, and like you put this thing into the world, and it's like you hope people read it and people like it, but only in school visits you get to see people with your book who have read it or are about to read it or are talking about it or excited about it. It's amazing. I love them so much. So please, I would love, reach out to me. I'd love to book some school visits.
Yeah, you can also reach me on my website, megedenbooks.com. I have a tab there. I think under welcome. I just redid some of this. There's something on author visits. I've got a couple different links there. There's one with all my topics, because I do a lot of workshops as well for adults, and I teach creative writing. So I've got like all sorts of different ideas there. But I also have information on, school visit pricing and logistics. And I'm very flexible and willing to work with folks of whatever, however to make that work. But yeah, you can just send a contact through the website. You can also DM me through other things, but email and through my website is probably the quickest way you'll get a hold of me.
Actually, you're welcome to email me, and I will forward you to my booking agent, who you are also welcome to email directly, which I probably should have said. I think my website has her email as well, Carmen Oliver. She's lovely.
Great. Well, Aimee and Meg, we're here close to the end. We just want to thank you so much. We appreciate you and your beautiful stories, and thanks for chatting with us today.
Thank you so much. This was really fun.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah.
Yeah,
course.
and to all of our readers, we hope you enjoyed our show and are inspired to pick up some incredible and inspiring books. We'll be back next weekend with some more KidLit fun. Bye.